Well, welcome to another monthly webinar. Thank you very much for joining me. And thank you to Train Smart Australia for having me. It's a privilege to come here every month. I really enjoy it, so thank you so much. David Bunney is my name. I'm the author of Success Leaves a Trail, now a bestseller on Amazon. Before we get started, let me ask you a very simple question. Have you ever had a period in your life where you have experienced absolute chaos? I mean really chaos. Or perhaps it might even describe your lifestyle right now. I hope not. But if it does, in this webinar, I'm going to show you how to deal with it and some tips and tricks on how to actually get on top of chaos. And more importantly, why it's so important to deal with it. You know, it's really not going to serve you very well to let it go on. So grab a pen, take lots of notes and relax. Give yourself some permission to take some time out of probably a very busy day so that you can learn some things that genuinely is going to help your life. So let's get started. So we're going to get started by doing a small exercise to teach you a little bit about focus, or conscious thinking is what it's actually called. It's the ability to block out noise and distractions from around you. And you know what? It's a technique that it's not easy. It's not easy, but if you practice it, it can be done, and it gets better the more you practice it. You see, if you've got distractions around you, like you got the TV on or the radio or the kids, or you're planning dinner, or you're updating your to-do list in your mind, there is no way that you can focus all your attention on what it is you're actually trying to do. And of course this contributes to, well, chaos. So, you probably experience it when you're talking to somebody maybe on the phone. You say, you know what, they're not listening to me, and you hear things in the background, or you can just tell that they've got a lot of things going on. So I want to just demonstrate how difficult this really is. Right now, try and focus on my voice or on the picture on the screen, and try and block out everything around you. Just for a couple of seconds, just try and bring it back to my voice, the picture on the screen, clear your mind and relax. Now this is not easy, but if you can try this technique over and over again, you can at least come back to the ability to focus on one thing at a time. All right. So where are we going with this webinar? Well, it's broken into 4 sections. The first section is actually understanding a bit about chaos, what it actually is and what it is not. A lot of people get that confused. The second section is then now we're going to get into actually regaining control. What steps do we need to take to take back control? From there, we move on to some tools and tips that work. Now, this is a little bit like, well, I guess some of the previous webinars. Learning the tools doesn't take very long. It's like learning a new skill. I can deliver that within minutes, and we can give you some tips that actually work as well. But the real learning is when you make a commitment to yourself that you're going to apply these tools and these new skills over the coming month or coming 3 months. That's where the real learning is. So it's good if you can take notes and jot them down, but please make a commitment to yourself that you're going to actually do something with it. And then of course the last section, section 4, is then in the applying, and we're going from chaos to calm, and you'll apply the tools that you've actually learnt. So here's the first section, and we're going to talk about understanding chaos, exactly what it is, and more importantly, what it is not. The dictionary definition of chaos is complete disorder and confusion. Now, when we talk about disorder, it can be random things that occur unexpectedly. Now we say, well, is this a good thing or not a good thing? Well, don't overcomplicate it. Can you imagine having a life so planned that it'd be boring, wouldn't it? If every single thing in your life, every routine of your day was the same every day and nothing unexpected happened, it would be boring. So don't confuse chaos with, things that are happening unexpectedly. That's not a bad thing. But we are talking about life chaos. And the reason I mention that is because if you jump on and start researching it, there are many different types of chaos, topics out there. Like quantum, you get into physics, quantum chaos, or the chaos theory in mathematics, or even this picture here. That's actually one from NASA. We're talking about that's a chaos image of some satellites and planets. So we're not talking about that. What we're talking about here is random things that create disorder and confusion in your life, and how we can actually deal with it from there. So here's another confronting question. It might seem a little bit harsh, but it needs a truthful answer. Do we actually create our own chaos around us? Are we responsible? You think about it. You probably know some people that just thrive on drama in their life. And they're probably the same people that watch all the drama television shows. They just condition themselves to expect the negative, just like the TV shows. This is dangerous thinking. And I know you've probably seen people like this. With an attitude like that, it's just constant negative that they're breeding inside themselves. Oh, nothing works out for me. I always got this problem in life, and something else goes wrong with them. The world is plotting against me. Whenever I got like that when I was younger, my mother said, "Don't be like that. You just, if you're feeling sorry for yourself, go down the garden and eat worms." I never really understood what that meant. I guess I do now. But another use of chaos for perhaps another group of people is to use that as an excuse for not doing things. And again, that's just not good. I can't do this because I've got too many things happening in my life right now. And they actually use chaos in their life as an excuse for not doing things. Please, don't think like that. That is really not good. So I asked the question, do we create our own chaos? Well, I guess if you if you work in the city, have a look at people rushing home. You see them come out of the office blocks and they're almost frantically running to catch a bus or a train or just, they just work themselves up so much. I understand they probably had a busy day and they want to get home to relax. But, rushing home is not good for you. Stop it. I'd fall over and get hurt. Actually, I share a quick story with myself just recently, and I was guilty of it. I dressed suit and tie, had a busy day, wanted to get home, and I was rushing down St George's Terrace in Perth. And my tie actually blew in the wind and got caught on a restaurant sign. And it nearly choked me. I couldn't believe it. It ripped the end off my tie and nearly choked me. And that takes a lot of force. And it was like the universe waking me up. Hey, come on, slow down, take it easy, get home safely. So please, if you start creating your own chaos, have a good look at your lifestyle. Are you to blame? Because if you are, we need to have a serious look at the effects and what things we can do to change. So first of all, with chaos, let's look at some of the warning signs. Stress is one of the contributing factors to our poor health. And we know that the science behind what stress actually does to our body and our physiology is terrible. You worry about things going to happen. Well, why do we worry? That may not happen. There's been several experiments where very often, like 70 or 80% of the time of the things you worry about never actually happen. So let it go. Fear, of course, is an emotion that, we can't get away from fear. They talk about the fear of pain being stronger than the promise of pleasure. But fear is an emotion that it affects all of us. Pure exhaustion. If your energy levels are down, you're probably experiencing chaos, moody or changing of moods. that feeling of hopelessness. The reverse of, living in a world of hope. But that hopelessness feeling, emotional, and of course despair. And that's just some of the things, some of the warning signs of, are you actually living a life in chaos? Please be aware of the warning signs. Check very, very often and just see whether you are. So there's no doubt of some of the warning signs and the impact it actually has on us when we experience chaos. But there's one single reason why it affects us so much. One single reason. Can you think what that is? Yep. Loss of control. That's it. As human beings, we are free thinking, and we like to at least feel that we have control over most things in our life. Now, not always total control, and when I say that, I don't mean control over other people. I'm referring to control over our circumstances. And when we lose that control, it really tests our inner strength dramatically. You look at some of the stories of the concentration camps throughout some of the wars that we've had, and the many people that just did not survive the concentration camps because of loss of control. Now, there were some that did, but that was a different mental attitude. So coming up shortly, we will actually explore this a little bit more about the mental attitude and understanding why this is actually the root cause when we feel chaos. So we spoke about what chaos actually was, and we said it was a disorder and confusion. We also spoke about the effects that it has on the human body, and we said that control was one of the major contributing factors to chaos in itself. So in this section, we're now going to move into what are some of the simple steps that we can take to regain control over our circumstances. And the first key, the very, very first step, the key to doing anything, to taking control again, is to stop. Just stop and re-energize. This is so important. It's important because if you don't have the energy, you think about some of the times when you've been really overwhelmed by so many things in your life, your energy levels are absolutely depleted. It's like running on a flat battery. And so before you can even think about applying some of the tools or the tricks, you've got to get your energy back up again. Just stop. And if it takes, I don't know how long that's going to take, a minute, an hour, a day, a week, I don't know. But your first step to managing chaos is to try and re-energize both mentally and physically enough so that you can then look at things and, okay, this is what we've got to do next. But that's the first key. Just stop. The second key is deciding what's important to you. Well, I mentioned earlier, your motivation and your energy only ever comes from doing the things that are important to you in life. You really think about it. We are highly motivated by what is important to us. If your family is important to you, you'll do everything to protect and look after the family. If money is important to you, you're probably out chasing money-making ideas or building a business or whatever you do. If whatever it is in your life, that is your energy, that is your motivation. And people say, oh yeah, but I get out of bed to go to work to pay the bills, to earn money. Well, no, you don't. It's actually what you're using the money for. And I hope it's more than just paying bills. So the second key to regaining control after you've energized is simply, let's find out, what is your purpose? What are some of the things that are genuinely important to you in your life? Now, the third step is taking time out for yourself. What are some of the things that you control and what are some of the things that you can't control? And this is such an important area. But the first area is simply time out for yourself. We get caught up on these obligations of feeling, oh, I've got to do this for the family, or for the boss, or you've got so many things happening in your life that you've got to take time out for yourself to decide, after you're re-energized, what is important to you, and then look at some of the things. What can you control and what can't you control? Let's have a look at a diagram. Say in this diagram here, this is you in the center. You are here, wherever here is, all right? But just imagine for 1 minute, that's where you are. You are here. Now from there are certain things that are within your control. There are. There are things that you do actually have control over. That might be some of your time, some of the decisions you make about your health, your family, your work, but there are certainly things that are within your control. No matter how chaotic you feel your life is, there will be some things you do actually have control over. You can make decisions on. But the confusing area, and this is the area where people get so caught up, is that there's also this ring around that where things are not in your control, and yet you feel as if they have an impact on you. Some examples, and I come back to watching the news. I make it very well known. I don't watch news. I try and protect myself as much as I can from media. But if there's a world war happening on the other side of the earth, which there always seems to be, that may not be directly in your control. Some things that happen in politics may not actually be in your control today. Might be on the elections. A natural disaster, you might be able to help out, but you can't actually control it. Now, if you allow those things to, overwhelm you, and don't say exclude them, because obviously they're a part of your life, but if you allow them to overwhelm the chaos in your life, then it shifts your focus away from some of the things that you do have control over. And there are many. So please just try and get that diagram nailed. If that's where you are, you do have control over some things, you do not have control over other things. Focus on what you do have control over. And of course the message in this slide is simplify your life. Don't overcomplicate it. It's just, we can only simplify two things. Things we own or things we do. So have a look at some of your ownership. I think I've spoken in one of the earlier webinars about the burden of ownership. Things breaking down all the time, or owning too many gadgets, or particularly technology and things. That can cause frustration. Just maybe you don't need all those gadgets. Or the two-person family that has 4 cars, a boat, a car, a bike, and a dune buggy. Do you really need all these things? So have a look at what you own first of all. What can you cut out that's going to simplify your life? Then, of course, have a look at what you do. Some of the things you do through the week. It might be as simple as planning your meals. Do you need a gourmet meal every night of the week? Have a look at some of Jamie Oliver's, 15 or 30-minute meals. There might be ways that you can streamline lunches for the kids. Just break it down into things you own, things you do, and have a look at what areas you can actually look at to simplify. And this picture here, remember what it felt like to live a simple life with no chaos. Okay, so now we come to section 3. So in the last section we just covered regaining control, and we spoke about stopping, re-energizing, getting some health back before you can start implementing any of these techniques. We looked at the importance, finding things are important to you, because that's where your energy and your motivation comes from. And the next slide there, we looked at control, identifying what you can control and what you can't control, and don't get bogged down in the bits that you can't. And of course, simplifying your life, cutting out some of the things you do or that you own, and making life simple. If you had a look at the first slide, we had a clock there with all the mechanism, so many moving parts. If you remove some of those moving parts, you end up with a simple mechanism. Maybe even a digital watch. Fewer moving parts create a simple life. That's what I'm trying to say. So in the next section, we're going to look at some tools and some tips that are known to work. Things that you can actually put into place and apply that's going to manage some of the chaos in your life. So let's have a look at a few of them. Now this first technique could be a subject all of its own. In fact, we could spend a whole webinar just talking about emotional intelligence. So if it interests you, there's a lot of information out there, so just research. Probably the key words will be emotional intelligence, or sometimes it's referred to as EQ. It's actually used for many purposes, particularly in business or performance management, or even on professional development and personal. So I'm going to go through it just in a nutshell. I think I need to explain it. So in a nutshell, what is it exactly? When we talk about emotional intelligence, we're talking about how we're actually feeling ourselves, first of all, and of course in the deeper subjects it actually talks about understanding how other people's emotions are. But to get the most out of it here in terms of managing chaos, it's a technique called learning the ability to understand your own emotions all the way through the day. And the techniques that are taught is to create some sort of trigger to remind yourself to check how you're actually feeling. Now, some of the triggers are, different per, different people, but it might be as simple as when you take a glass of water, or you drink a cup of coffee or something like that. That might be your trigger to say, how am I feeling right now? How am I feeling compared to, say, 20 minutes ago or 2 hours ago? And you have this self-assessment of, well, am I feeling more stressed, or nope, I'm energized. How am I actually feeling? Now that's step one. Step two is then managing your feelings. So if you're maybe halfway through the day and you do a self-check, you know what, I'm feeling fairly stressed now after the morning I've had, you can actually manage it. Go for a walk or do something about managing that stress, if it is stress. So when we talk about emotional intelligence and how it can contribute to managing chaos, it's simply, if you understand how you're feeling, then that's going to give you some ability, some techniques to actually help you manage chaos. So do some more research on it, but that's the first tool in the toolbox. Now the next tool is all about time management. And because it's a large subject, we're going to break it down into a couple of smaller pieces. But the matrix that you're looking at on the screen here was made popular obviously by Stephen Covey in his book, First Things First. But a lot of people don't realize it actually the original concept come from the US President, Dwight Eisenhower. And whenever things were presented to him, he used to ask the question, is it important or is it urgent? And from there, he actually developed the matrix. In fact, I love his quote all the time. What is important is seldom urgent, and what is urgent is seldom important. Great quote. So what do we use it for? Well, it's a tool that you can use for prioritizing your different tasks. And in the middle of chaos, that's a really important, useful thing to do. Prioritizing is a good key. So we break it up into 4 sections. The first section is urgent and important. If you're working in this area, if you had a task to do and it was urgent, meaning urgent is defined as has a meaningful deadline, and it was important, then you're probably working on a crisis management or in an emergency. And this is where if you get too many things like this, you genuinely are in chaos because you're crisis management. You're putting out fires all the time. What you should be doing is spending more time on the second section, important and not urgent. That's when you're actually planning. You understand that a task has got a deadline coming up, and so you've got time to plan for it correctly. And of course the bottom 2, urgent, not important, that's interruptions, usually from other people. There's a lot of tools how to deal with that. And not urgent, not important, trivia, absolute trivia. So out of the matrix there, the sweet spot to be working in most of the time is simply quadrant number 2, more planning, more time to reflect on what you should be doing and actually going ahead and doing it. So moving on to time management is a very simple formula. of learning to say no. I cannot believe the number of people that struggle with, just learning to say no. They try and make up all these excuses, and often it absolutely confuses the other person. This is part of time management. If you learn to say no, and I mean with manners, don't be rude. There's no need to be rude. So we're going to very quickly go through this 3-step formula. And it starts with the word no, right? There's nothing else. There's no excuses or anything like that. It starts with no, because you can't misinterpret that. It only has one meaning, no, right? But if you just leave it at that, you sound rude and abrupt, and we don't want to be like that. So the second part of this is because. Use the word because. No, because, and add the truth in there. Put some truth, why you can't, or why it is that you're actually saying no. And to add some manners, put some options at the end. Offer some alternative solutions. No, I can't help you right now because I'm too busy with my own work. However, perhaps I could help you a little bit later, or tomorrow morning, or something like that. Putting the last piece on the end there, the options, is really the manners bit. So practice that. That's going to help you a lot, particularly on your time management. It goes a long way. So no, because, add some truth, options, offer alternatives and solutions. Right, moving on with the time management. Have you ever had those meetings where it's absolutely useless and you wasted your time? And I'm not, sometimes it's a one-on-one meeting, sometimes just 2 or 3 people at work, or could even be at home. Look, there's an acronym there called PAT, and I've used this for many years now, and I guarantee it'll cut down the number of useless, time-wasting meetings that you have, whether it be at work or in a social club, anywhere at all. And the acronym PAT stands for simply purpose, agenda, and time. When somebody comes to you and says, hey, can I have 10 minutes of your time? What I like to do is say, yes, certainly, hang on, let me talk to Pat first. And of course they look at you rather oddly and say, well, what is the purpose of a meeting? What is it? Is it a decision-making meeting? Is it an updating of just information? Why are we meeting? What's the purpose? And if they can't tell you that purpose, then don't have the meeting. The next bit is an agenda. Now, I'm not talking about a formal typed out an agenda like you do in some larger meeting, but what is the purpose? After the purpose, what are we going to talk about? What's the agenda? Because sometimes maybe that could be done perhaps in an email or something like that. You don't have to meeting. And the last one, T for time. If they say 10 minutes, does it mean 10 minutes? Or do they really mean 30 minutes or worse, an hour or something like that, So purpose, agenda, time. Next person you ask for your time or a meeting, hang on, talk to Pat. What's the purpose? What are we going to talk about? How long do we need to schedule for it? It'll help with your chaos. Moving on simply with time management, this is the last part of it, is better planning. Everything can be improved through better planning. Anything, and I mean anything from writing technical documents to doing an email, whatever it is, take the time out to spend a little bit of time planning. Now, when we're talking about chaos, the most important part of the day, in my opinion, is your morning routine. So if you can improve your routine and get your day started, you're going to slide then into a little bit more organized type of day rather than just chaos. So look, they talk about the first 90 minutes of your day. In fact, I saw one survey done where, oh goodness, over 60% of people look at their their telephone or their emails or their social media within the first 60 seconds of waking up in the morning. That's horrific. Please don't do that. Wake up gently. Get into your day with some, rehydrate in the mornings with some water or some exercise. Plan your day. Get in your intention for the day. How are you going to react to different people? What is your intention? What do you hope to achieve? And just get in that morning routine, day after day. That'll all contribute to managing your chaos so much better. Better planning, morning routine, attention to detail. Okay, so let's summarize this section. We spoke about time management of being important and urgent. And we said, try and stay on the planning side, that quadrant number 2. Learning to say no with manners. You know, don't forget your manners. You don't have to be rude. Say no because, give them some options. Reduce the number of meetings that you have. Talk to Pat. Purpose, agenda, timing. And of course, better planning. And in particular, designing a routine in the morning that's going to work a lot better for you. Get your first 90 minutes sorted out in the morning. It is just so, so important. Okay, and there's a slide there. Declutter your life. Remember before we said simplify your life, fewer moving parts, speed up the process. Try and, just think of that analogy with the clock. Remove some of the parts, fewer moving parts, increase your speed. Declutter your life. So from chaos to calm. And in this section here, we're now going to look at applying some of the tools that we've learned, applying some of the knowledge and the things that we've actually covered so far, and how to actually achieve genuinely calm in your life from chaos. This photo here was inspired by a recent plane trip that I took not too long ago. And I learned a very important lesson. Be very careful what you wish for. Just picture this. You're in the transit lounge before you board the plane. And there's lots of families there. And I saw these couple of kids and I thought, normally kids don't bother me. They really don't. I've actually survived some of my own, so that's okay. But I saw these 2 kids and I thought, please, I hope they are not in front of me. Please don't sit anywhere near me. I just hope these kids are not anywhere near me. And of course, you know what happened. Sure enough, sat down, popped up over the seat in front of me. Hello, mister. Mum, that man doesn't want to talk to me. Oh my goodness me. Anyway, but then the hostess come on and we talk about the emergency procedures, about the oxygen masks. And it was really the key words that really resonated with me. You've got to put the mask on yourself first, help yourself before you can help others. I got to thinking, isn't that so true? If you can't help yourself manage chaos or with your own emotions or your own life, how are you going to help with anybody else? Your chaos and your management of that will be affecting others around you. It might be at work, it might be at home, your kids, your spouse, your colleagues. It's affecting other people around you. And so you've got to learn to take responsibility for your own actions first. Stop blaming the world. It's not everybody else's fault, right? Key element of applying these tools is simply accept responsibility for where you are. Forget the past, can't deal with that. Forget the future, that's tomorrow. Just concentrate on accepting responsibility for where you are now. So that's the first message there. Take responsibility, help yourself before you start affecting others. The second principle here is to remember back how calm actually, what did it feel like? When did you actually have that in your life last? I'm guessing it was probably last time you're on holidays. We normally take holidays as a time to, re-energize and refocus both mentally and physically. And so try and relax and remember what calm actually feels like. Picture the tranquil water or the mountainside or whatever it is that calms, you have that feeling of calm. For me, I enjoy vision boards. I love putting my favorite moments on a board that I can see every day. And as I make note, I love cruising. So very often it's photos of different cruising trips or travel to do with water. But what it does mentally is that it puts you in a state of remembering what calm actually felt like. Every time you look at a picture, you think, yes, wasn't that fantastic? And you just relax. And so that's another principle. Try and remember what it feels and set up something, whether it be vision boards or screensavers or something that jogs your memory on what it actually feels like to feel calm in the first place. All right, moving on. Know what is important to you. When you have a look at some of the searches, we talk about work-life balance. And in fact, if you did a search that, work-life would come up more than life-work. But if you really analyse it, isn't what we're trying to achieve here is a better lifestyle? So shouldn't your focus actually be on your lifestyle first, and then secondly, your work as enjoyment, doing something you actually have fun doing? So the message here is to focus your attention on your lifestyle. Have a really critical look of your lifestyle. Now, we've been through several different areas there of the 8 different parts of your life, your health and your finance and your career and your relationship, all of that. But have a look at each section of your lifestyle and see what small changes you could actually make. But the message is focus on your life, on your lifestyle. Look at what you can change. Forget about what you can't for the time being, but what can you change in your life? And then have a look at your work and say, well, okay, maybe I could tidy up a few things at work, as well. There might be several things you can do that work. They're still within your control. Even a clean desk would be, that might make you feel a lot more relaxed. But have a look at your lifestyle, have a look at your workplace, try and get some balance between the two, but really it should be life, then work. And of course, a very, very famous quote from Brian Tracy: if it's going to be, it's up to me. And I guess that follows on to what I said before about taking responsibility for where you are in life. You need to take responsibility to regain that control. So go back through the notes that you've taken for the webinar. Have a look at understanding what chaos is all about and some of the tools that we spoke about that you could apply that would help you manage some of the chaos. Accepting responsibility, jogging in memory what calm actually feels like, doing some of your time management. There's probably only 6 or 8 points there. Even down to getting your morning routine sorted out. Managing chaos might appear absolutely overwhelming to a lot of people. But like everything, if you break it down into smaller pieces, you'll find not only the tools to manage with the small pieces, it's not quite as daunting as you might feel. And particularly if we spoke about emotional intelligence, understanding how you feel and going through the day. So look, that pretty much wraps up the webinar in terms of the learning outcome. And of course, like any learning, it's not learning the tools that's so important, because let's face it, we did that in 40 minutes. It's the applying, making that commitment to yourself that you will apply these tools over the coming months. So thank you very much, and I really urge you to go through notes and really apply it. And just remember that quote: if it's going to be, it's up to me. So if you found some of the information useful in this webinar, then you can connect with me at the davidbunney.com website. Or if you want some more information, because a lot of these tips are actually included in my book, you can go to successleavesatrail.com.
Hi, my name is Jerry Robert, and I'm the publisher of this phenomenal book at Black Card Books. Success Leaves a Trail. Fast track your success in 3 simple steps. Have you ever read some books where it's so complicated and there's so many parts to it that it's almost impossible to put into practice? You will not have that problem, if you get David's book. We're so proud of him. We're so excited about this book. We know it's destined for international bestsellerhood, if there is such a word. Listen to what he says here. Fast track your success in 3 simple steps. In this book, you're going to discover how to gain clarity, direction, and balance in life, enjoying more energy and fun. Who doesn't want more of that? Break through the mindset obstacles that are holding you back. Develop the skills highly successful people use to be effective. Find low cost, work from home opportunities that give you fast returns. Apply proven techniques for matching opportunity with purpose. I could just go on. David is a person who has done it himself. He's known as the lifestyle mentor. If you want to take your life to the next level, you have got to get this book. And if you have the opportunity to hire David to speak at your company, or you have the opportunity to listen to him at one of his very popular workshops from around the world, get to one of those lectures, man. I mean, he is an up-and-coming, highly successful thought leader. The thing that I like about him is that he's so practical. He's so funny. He's so simple, but not it's not complex. But his stuff works. I am wanting to congratulate him, and also encourage you. Pick up a copy for yourself. Pick up a copy from somebody else who you know wants to have more, do more, and be more. You'll be glad you did.
Wow, thank you, Jerry. What a legend in the industry. In fact, what an honor, really, to have the founder of your publishing company pick your book out of so many to say a few words. You know, I know they believe and they know how much the information can help people improve their lifestyle, so I'm very grateful for that. And I thank you for allowing me the privilege to share my information today. That is truly an honour as well. And for Train Smart Australia for having me every month, again, that's a privilege, which I don't take lightly. Thank you so much. So I hope I have inspired, educated, and encouraged you to just get out there, have more fun in life, get yourself a better lifestyle. I really look forward to sharing with you in the next webinar.